focus on your business on one stream of income, or you need to diversify, get multiple streams of income. It's obviously it's not as simplistic as that. There are so many factors to consider. And I want to kind of bring up both sides of the argument, because you will see business coaches on one side saying focus, and then on the other side saying to diversify. But also I've kind of tried to expand and try to learn this from some people who have been built incredible businesses, and they've thought about it in so many different ways. So I'll start with a quote by Andrew Carnegie. So if you didn't know, Andrew Carnegie, by today's standards, is probably the richest man alive. At least that's what they say. He was equivalent to what would be worth $400 billion now, which is twice as big as Elon Musk right now, I would say, as of 2022. So this is what he said, and it was interesting. Concentrate, put your eggs in one basket, and watch that basket. It's a very simple quote. Concentrate, put your eggs in one basket, and watch that basket. What we hear is the other side of it is to don't put all your eggs in one basket. And they both apply in different contexts. So how does it apply in our own businesses? So for me, I had to come to a conclusion for myself based on hearing just direct my own business coach, but also some influencers that I feel aligned with, to really follow what they did. What did they do to create the kind of businesses that I wanted to create? So I would give you some examples. One might be Brennan Burchard, Patrick Bet-David, Andrew Carnegie. I mean, I didn't see him, but I've followed some of his teachings. Think about Grant Cardone, who's been pretty successful in his business. Now, on the surface, when you watch these guys, it looks like they have diversified quite a bit. And you will see that they have multiple businesses. But when you actually dig a little bit deeper, that's not what actually happened. So this is directly in front of me, Brennan Burchard talking. And I remember him, this is a few years ago. He's like, what most people do is they start one thing and then they jump onto the next thing after just a few months because they want to diversify, or they put their money in another bucket in an investment or something else. He's like, and that's what it looks like a lot of rich people do. But he's like, that's not what happens in reality. In reality, when you actually watch people who are doing really well, they actually focused quite a bit on the one thing that they were focused on. So as an example, I think one of the first things that Brennan Burchard, and don't quote me on this, grew was Experts Academy, which has become Influencers, or it might be a High Performance Academy, whatever that was. So for 2 years, he just focused on that. And he built that brand up and made sure everything is good and it's automated. And then he moved on to the next one. For another 2 years, he focused on the next one. And then on the next one. Now he has, I think, 6 or 7 seven-figure brands, all focused for those 2 years. Now, this is even short-term. So there are other ones. For example, Patrick Bet-David will say, no, you need to pick something that you're going to focus on for 10 to 20 years. And he also follows somebody's philosophy around Andrew Carnegie, who will say that, no, focus on one thing, just watch it. So it just depends how you want to approach it. But now the thing that they're trying to get you to think about is to specialize, to really specialize in one thing. And for me, like if I were to draw like a medium line, even something like Brennan Burchard did in his business, he didn't really, those 2 years in one brand was not his specialization. He had actually specialized in speaking for a long time. He had specialized in writing about his specific theme for a long time, 10 plus years. And then he built a brand for 2 years around that. And that's the speed of social media that helps him do something like that. But if you take other business owners, they literally worked on their craft for a long, long time, maybe 5 plus, 10 plus years for them to even understand what it is like. And I've learned that just being in the coaching world for 6 plus years, there's so much more to learn. And my net worth has gone up based on the specific skill sets that I've developed over time. And those are not generalized coaching practices. Those are specialized way of coaching that I know how to do. in this specific realm. Now, I also have another company. It's a mastermind for coaches, but that didn't even come into the picture 2 years ago, like 4, 5+ years after I started this. And I do part of my effort is there, not all of it. So this is just my thinking, is that if we can't focus on one thing to move it forward, then, and I know quite a few business owners that have like 6 businesses running at the same time. And I really try to, I'm like, how the hell do you do this? And they're always stretched thin, because every time I try to schedule something with them, every time I try to talk to them, they can't do anything, because they're jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And maybe they can handle it, I don't know. But for me, having focus on one thing and moving it forward, building my craft around it and building a model around it, automating it, all that stuff takes a lot of energy, time, planning, strategic way of moving it forward. And so I want you guys to think about it in your own business. Like, what does that mean for you? How many streams of income do you need for you to have a good life, the way you're building it, for you to move your purpose forward, whatever you're trying to do? Now, nobody else can decide that for you. You can decide it yourself, obviously. And one other point I wanted to bring up in relation to this is that there is another factor of fear here too. Peter Thiel said this: whenever you hear rich people who are saying, I diversify my income, at that point, what it sounds like, they don't know what to do with the money. So they use that fancy term as a way to say, well, I don't know what to do with it. So they push that out to the hedge funds for them to just diversify all the income, all sorts of places, because they don't know what to do with it. So, and that's the same thing I keep hearing from very successful business owners, that diversify when you get to a point. You don't need to do that initially. Initially, you need to get to a point where you can create and amplify your income. You can replicate the process all over and over, and you increase your market value in the market, regardless of what's happening in the market. And that's a very odd thing for people to get, because when we come from the intention of fear, we might be like, oh shoot, what if something goes wrong and this is not creating income for me? But we all know of somebody who makes quite a bit of income, even in market crashes. How do they do that? Well, the one answer that I've gone around this is to specialize, create a huge demand for your services, for what you offer, versus the competitor, versus somebody else who might be just a generalist jumping from one thing to the next thing, who doesn't have the kind of value that you could bring into the picture. I also saw that, for example, in the engineering world, even with kind of industries that are dying out, for example, in mechanical engineering, when CNC machines came into the picture, automated machines that you can program, and I used to do that. Before that, there was manual machining. Even at the time when they weren't teaching that in college and universities, there were a few machine shops that specialized in that area. And they would charge a shitload of money to do some specific jobs that even CNC machines couldn't do. And that was very interesting, because that went on concurrently with the CNC, and some of them are still around, even though that industry is almost completely dead. So it's just thinking about it. How does it work for you? And questioning your own thought process. Is my decision making based on the fear of I'm going to lose everything, or is it based on the idea that, hey, if I develop this specialization, I increase my market value, and I create a customer base, and I create strategic relationships, this could really grow. And those are things to think about. And ultimately, I mean, I wouldn't call myself the most successful business owner in the world, or not even in the top whatever percent. But this is for us to think about. These are, especially in the economy that we're in, to consider, what do we want to do? Because especially in these times when things are uncertain, people want to just, they react to circumstances. They'll be like, no, my money needs to go there, 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 and there, so I don't lose it all. So it's very fear-based, which might be fine. I don't know, but that's not how I like to think about it, because I feel like there's value in building your own skill sets There's value in building relationships. There's value in strategic approach. There's value, yes, study the market, study what's happening, but ultimately what you deliver, the value that you deliver in the marketplace is what you gain. The effect of it is the money that comes in.